ones where we're kind of just like, this. It doesn't seem like you're coming to attack me. You know what I'm saying?
You heard that saying that's like, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yes.
You heard that? It's
Yeah.
like, that's what it is here, man. People just trying to make these horses drink, and they're never going to drink.
Exactly. Exactly, man. I mean, so you were talking about your own faith and stuff.
Yeah. Like, for me, personally, just kind of like, I just questioned, I don't know, I guess I kind of was at university and
Yeah, go ahead. Take time. In the meantime, go ahead.
What was the question? Sorry.
You were talking about. He was saying that some of the things that he listens to when he listens to like Speaker's Corner videos makes him question his own faith and things. What is your own? What's your faith?
So me personally, fully recent years I've discovered God, and I use the word God. That's my word, but I know that there's many different ways to call it. I'm not religious at all.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, but I also believe that ancient knowledge has a lot of important things. I believe there's a lot of bad stuff in it that people have changed throughout history, claim it as something else. If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I believe that ancient stuff has like important stuff to say, but the spiritual side is within each person. That's me.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. So, what you said you discovered God. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that point?
So I grew up in like around this area, and for me, like because of like where I grew up from, it was hard to believe in God at first, you know. So like, you know what I mean? Like you see tough times, so you think, how can there really be a God? But that's just because of what you're being told by everyone else of what life is really. And then once I started to really open my mind and think about why I was really here, what this place was, this is what for me made me start believing in God. To be honest, I started opening doors. This is a bit of a random one, but when I heard about 9/11 stuff, that was the first trigger for me in a way. Conspiracy theories, opening up into the world of like what was truly going on. So
Right. So you say that you believe in God, but you're not that religious in that sense. Okay,
I
so
would. For me, I personally believe that the ancient stories are basically true. But say, for example, I don't want to. I'm careful saying this.
no, say what you need to say, man. Be as open as possible.
I don't agree at all with Christianity in the way that I believe the Old Testament stands as a story from start to finish, and I think Christianity came along after that, and I don't think it's actually related myself. I also think, based on something I've read about, these almond priesthoods in Egypt, that this kind of seems to me like the origins of like the Catholic Church, in a way, or maybe, some of earlier roots of it, and so I don't personally agree with that part.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So we can start with the premise that you believe in God, yeah?
Yeah.
That there is a creator to this universe, that he created us, created the universe, he positioned human beings on a planet called Earth. That's their placement, and he's sustaining us, he's maintaining us, he's all these things, yeah? That's very good, okay? Now the question is did he create us for a reason, or did he create us for no reason?
I believe that the whole purpose of all of this is obviously for us. Like,
Right.
It wouldn't exist if it wasn't for us to begin with.
Right.
No one else experiences this level of consciousness. We're separate from everything else. We obviously are. We are like, at least the children of God. At least, you know what I mean?
I can see what you're saying, for sure. You're saying that the Earth, the universe, everything, so it seems like we've been strategically placed in such a way as would allow for us to take advantage of everything else more so than the opposite.
Or just that, like, in the way that the only thing we know that can appreciate the colour green is people.
Right.
Like a dog or something.
Very
is not gonna
powerful.
think,
Very good,
I
yeah.
love green. You know what I'm saying? But basically, we
That's
appreciate
good.
things on the next level.
I think that's a very good, nice way of putting that. That's a quote maybe some people are going to use now. You never know.
Okay, God bless. God bless.
But what I was going to say to you is let's take it one step further. Let me ask you a question. Do you think there is a purpose of life? A defined purpose of life? Defined by God, for instance.
I guess there actually is, yeah. There has to be. and once you know it, that's when you're ready to leave it.
Right.
Because
Yeah. I was going to say to you, that's exactly what we believe, right? Here's the Islamic belief system. I'll tell you now. The Islamic belief system is that God created us, God maintained us, God sustains us. He strategically placed us on the earth and gave us the ability to know ourselves and to know Him. Okay? And then He fixed for us a purpose. And that purpose is to submit to His will. Now let me tell you what that means in a little bit more detail. If you look around, there are laws of physics, if you like, laws of nature. And if you look around, those laws of nature appear to be fixed. There appears to be some kind of, right? Everything within the universe, within the cosmos, seems to be in compliance with the laws of nature.
everything goes in.
Now, if there's a law, that implies there's a lawmaker. In that sense, the Quran indicates to us that God, just in the same way as He put everything in the universe, and everything within the universe is submissive to Him, in the same way human beings have to also be submissive to Him. So in other words, in order for us to be one with nature, we have to do what everything else in nature is doing, which is submitting to the laws of God. The only difference is the laws set by God, respective to inanimate things, to the cosmos, to celestial bodies, to the atom, to what's on a subatomic level, are fixed, and there is no choice attached to those entities. In other words, the earth can't the earth can't determine or decide to turn the other way around. On the other hand, human being and this other creature we believe is called jinn, those two creatures have choice.
Oh jinn, yeah.
Yes. So the Quran says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We haven't created human beings, jinn and human beings, except that they may worship me. In a nutshell, therefore, the purpose of life, according to Muslims, is to worship God, to submit to His will. Does that make sense? And now, how is this purpose of life communicated to communities? We believe it was communicated to communities in so much as there were prophets and messengers that came that told those communities about that thing. They came with two things. They came with the message, which is to believe that there's nothing worthy of worship except for God, and they also came with the evidence, some kind of extraordinary proof to prove they are true speakers. So we believe in messengers like Noah and Moses and Abraham. We believe the final messenger is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would say he is not differentiated in terms of message, but he is differentiated in terms of the fact that all the other prophets and messengers came to their people, whereas he came for all of human beings. The Quran says, مَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ. We haven't sent you except for all of human beings. But most of human beings will not know this. Now, all the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his message, which is Quran and the Hadith. The Quran is the word of God, according to Muslims. The Hadith is the sayings and the actions of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, which we believe came from God initially. That is the blueprint. These are the laws that we must follow. And by following the blueprint or following those laws, we then become submissive. So a Muslim is someone who is submissive. What do you think so far of this?
So my interpretation of it personally is that we're talking about this universal law, and I believe in it as well. You can't get any further. Anything that you take, it leads back to this one thing essentially. And it all operates in the same way. I don't know. This is how I'm interpreting it.
Okay, right.
So like when you say it is to be submissive, for me is to like, how I would say is like we have to go with the flow. Obviously, I think that because we are people that have this path to walk, our flow is a good flow. You know what I mean? If you go against the flow, that's when stuff goes bad. But if you're with the flow, that is the way. You learn these things, and then you live by them because that is the flow that's been given to you. That's what I've been seeing so far.
I see what you're saying, but let me tell you what I think you've been affected by. It seems like you've been affected by. I've been watching this guy recently, sometimes his videos. Oh, you're back. No, you're right. You're good, yeah? You're right. You're good, yeah? Alhamdulillah. Sorry. Take this.
Nice. No worries.
Do you know this guy? His name is Russell Brand.
Yeah.
You know him, he's very popular in the UK. You know?
Yeah.
And I've been trying to watch his stuff on what he believes about spirituality and religion and that, yeah? And he seems to indicate that he believes in God or a higher power of some sorts.
Right.
But what he does say is that he doesn't believe in, it seems to me, that's my interpretation of his speech, is that he doesn't really subscribe to the dogma of religion.
Fair enough.
You see what I'm saying?
I agree with that.
Right, so
he doesn't seem to.
That's where it is.
Yeah,
so in
yeah.
other words, he believes in something higher power, but he doesn't believe in the dogma of religion. And the argument seems to be as follows. Once again, I might be wrong about his argument. I'm not even sure if he's making an argument. But the argument seems to be that religion is very dogmatic. And the dogma is not required, in a sense. What's better required is for us to go through a state of self-development, spiritual self-discovery, where we ourselves find, the answers. So in other words, it's a very self-centered or self-centric model of spirituality.
Yeah, it can be.
And rather than being, for instance, a God-centric, or let's say, for instance, even a religious-centric model, it's okay, let's see what we can find out for ourselves, rather than let's subscribe to a religion which tells us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
That's that line of thought. So some people refer to it in the vernacular as spiritualism. It's okay, look, we're very spiritual people because we believe in God, etc., etc. What I would say is problematic is there's two implied assumptions here. Number one implied assumption is that dogma entails falsity. Dogma doesn't always imply falsity. In fact, almost everything which claims to be true is dogmatic in a sense.
Right.
Science is very dogmatic in a sense. Many philosophies are very dogmatic.
It is.
Just because something is dogmatic, it doesn't mean it's untrue.
I agree with that.
Right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about religion as being dogmatic, sometimes it is. I mean, if you look at the dictionary definition of what a dogma is,
we know that happens in religion. Right? There's good sides and there's bad sides.
What I'm saying is more than this. I'm saying that something which is dogmatic, which they say is uncompromising. Dogma is something which is uncompromising.
Okay.
Just because it's uncompromising, it doesn't mean it's false, right?
Right.
But there is a subtext here, there is an implicit assumption that because religion is dogmatic, or in particular Abrahamic religions, because the Eastern religions are not as dogmatic, to be fair. Hinduism and Buddhism are not as certain,
I guess so,
as Islam and Christianity and Judaism claim to be, right? So because something is dogmatic, that it ought not to be followed, because it constrains you. And do you know what's underlying that? It's a liberal belief that we should, the purpose of life, and they don't want to admit this, but people like Russell Brandon, that they don't say this clearly, but it's premised, it seems like his purpose of life is premised on the idea that we're all just free creatures, that we are here to be as free as possible, and that goes back to a pre-enlightenment or even enlightenment liberalism. That we should be free, that there should be nothing to restrain and constrain us.
I think,
you see what I'm saying?
But my personal belief is that, I agree with what you're saying, because this Russell Brand thing is pushing the wrong side of things, in my personal belief, because it's promoting a kind of side of it that becomes more about the ego and the material and, for oneself. And it separates what the true sacrifice it is, which you have to take part in this real, what I believe is going on is that we will have a test, right? And you have to work in that. You don't just come down here and have it all easy and then suddenly have all the answers or anything. Right. Each person's got their own path, and that's why personally for me I do call it spiritual, because my word for it is spiritual, as someone else associates their information to another, say, words to represent what they are.
I see what you're saying, but what I'm saying is something, yes, you're right. What I'm saying is that in the beginning, if you remember our conversation, we said, is there a truth out there?
Okay.
A truth with a capital T.
Okay.
Is there an absolute, objective, real thing that we must be doing in our lives?
Okay.
If we assume that there is, human beings are not just here haphazardly and for no reason, or the only reason is subjective, that is self-constructed. We're saying no, there is an actual truth. There is a moral out there that we have to achieve.
Truth is something that I think comes inevitably to a perspective, and so there is only a half truth. A truth to an individual is truth, but we know that the fact that people disagree, that there's more than one kind of truth because of how they hold it.
Back in the days because what you seem to be saying is something along the lines of what the relative is saying. Like, back in the days, there used to be a group called the Sophists in the Greek period.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and Socrates had an argument with them.
Yeah.
Socrates was like, so you're saying everyone's truth is the same?
Yeah.
He said, yeah. The Sophists, he said, yeah, I believe everyone's truth is the same. If you're saying everyone's truth, everyone is entitled to truth, you're making the same argument. Now Socrates turned around and said what? He said, okay, my truth is that my truth is that there is an absolute truth and that relative truth is not true. Is that true? If that becomes true, all the other truths become false.
Yeah.
Right, so in that sense, this relativist model where everyone can just do what they want, or a liberal model, whatever, it doesn't answer any questions and doesn't have any hard objective way of realizing that it is. What I'm saying is this: the truth is one. The same creator that created human beings, and he knew what it would require for them to be in this universe, to live, prosper, to realize themselves in him, is the same creator which fixed for us the commands, in this case the Quran, and this is what we believe. All of those books are instructions from the creator.
Yeah.
Okay, they're guidance.
Yeah.
Right? So does it make sense that the creator would instruct human beings in that capacity? That he would give them guidance?
Well, that's a big question, but I personally do believe that, just basing it on my own moral compass and what I believe the ancient were saying, that God sent that yeah, he did, because clearly these are good way to like balance yourself. Well, look, it says it there. I feel that's right, and when I did that, it felt wrong. That they're telling the truth. So that's for me. Like that's my belief. Yeah.
Perfect. So if that's the case, then we have all of these prophets that came to deliver what they thought or what they say God revealed to them, which they had evidence for.
Yeah.
Okay. We had Jesus, we had Moses, we had Abraham, and we had Muhammad.
Right.
Now, why we're differentiated from Christians? Christians say that Jesus is God.
Yeah.
I
don't agree with that. Yeah.
And we're saying that Jesus could not be God and that God did not have any children.
That's one of the main things for me, is that it says in the Old Testament, worship no God above me.
Yes.
And then obviously later on it comes back round, it's like, guys, I died for your sins and worship me and it's all good.
Exactly.
And obviously,
so here, Islam goes against this. It says that God doesn't have any children. He doesn't have any partners. That no man can be God. Right? That Jesus is not God. All of those things, right? So, in a nutshell, what I'm saying to you is that what makes more sense to you? What makes more sense to you on the outset? The Islamic model or the Christian model?
The Islamic model, 100%.
Alright, so but
I don't know enough about the Islamic model myself, I'll be honest. Haven't really.
But all you need to know for now is that Islam is a religion which confirms all of the religions that came before in terms of the Abrahamic religions, but fixes that which we believe went wrong. So for instance, the idea that Jesus is God, the Son of God, etc., that we don't believe in. We believe there's one God, one ultimate, supreme creator of the universe.
Of course. Yeah.
And that he set the purpose and there's no other God except for him. Yeah, and that we worship him.
I agree with that stuff. That's
And we will say that all the prophets came only to tell the people about that, and Prophet Muhammad was the final messenger. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it seems to me like what you've done, in effect, is you've agreed with Islam.
Oh no, of course.
Yes.
Like if you say this is Islam to me, and you say what you just said, I agree 100% with Islam.
So what you need to do then, the next step, naturally, is that what we usually say, you know what I'm talking about. To become Muslim, all you do is you say two phrases. What are the phrases? You say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. What does it mean? I testify there's only one God worthy of worship.
Right.
And I testify that Muhammad is the final messenger.
The Muhammad is the messenger bit is the only bit I haven't researched that.
Okay.
The first bit I'm happy to say, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
what objections do you have so far? Because what we know of Muhammad Sallallahu
nothing.
Very good. Okay, so let me give you a quick overview. Muhammad was a man who was born in Arabia. Okay, and this man, he went to a cave. He lived for 40 years. He lived in a cave. He went to a cave called Ghar Hira. He went to this cave. And then revelation started to come to him. So the angel grabbed him and said, "Iqra, read." So he said, "I can't read," because he was actually illiterate. So the angel came again and said, "Iqra." So he said, "Read." So man, he said, "I can't read." So the angel came again and said, "Iqra." So recite in the name of your Lord. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, the one who created human being from a clot. Recite in the name of the Lord, the one who taught the human being with the pen. Yeah, these were the first verses of the Quran that were revealed. Now, over a span of 23 years, the Quran will come down piecemeal, in interval way, bit by bit, until he died. Now what we have is the full Quran. Now, some of the evidences that the Quran is in fact from God and could not be from a human being are as follows. The Quran makes a challenge. It says, فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِثْلِهِ وَدَعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. It says that if you believe it's from other than God, then try and make a chapter like it.
Sorry, what?
If you believe this book is from other than God,
Okay. Oh, try and
make something like it.
Okay.
In other words, the Arabic language,
Yeah.
the predictions in the Quran, the structure of the Quran, the power of the Quran, the fact that the Quran changed human beings in a way that no other book did and could. All of those things, that is a challenge for human beings, and no one has been able to meet that challenge. Even the strongest linguists of that time, strongest grammarians, could not meet that challenge. The Quran says, قُلْ إِنْ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ على أن يأتوا بمثل هذا القرآن ما يأتون بمثله ولو كان بعضهم لبعض ظهيرا. If all of human beings and the jinn came together to try and construct something like this Quran, they would not be able to construct anything like it, even if they helped each other. The point is that there is an inimitability challenge in the Quran. The Quran says if you believe that this book is not from God, then try and make something like it. Make something which people read as much, memorize as much. Make something which captures the minds as much.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with all of that stuff. I agree with all of that stuff, and I personally do believe that stuff is definitely from God. That is like these initiating things that we needed for this. For this all, we've been brought here through this, this guidance from one point, and I agree with all of that stuff. Don't get me wrong.
The Quran also says, if this book was from other than God, لَوَجَدُوا فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا, they would have seen in it many contradictions. So the point is this, it's not only that it's inimitable, but it doesn't have any contradictions. When you see people talk, usually you find contradictions in what they say. But this book has no contradictions, and it challenges people to find contradictions. And people try and find contradictions. But the thing is, the book still stands, and the people still believe in it.
Nice.
And so, as far as we're concerned, no damning evidence has ever been presented for 1,400 years.
Okay.
Moreover, the Quran makes predictions of the future.
Yeah.
And human beings cannot make predictions of the future. By their nature, if I tell you something, I can only be speculative in my judgment. If I say, look, tomorrow, I don't know what team you support, Portsmouth, yeah?
One thing though,
Go ahead.
you actually believe human beings can't see the future?
I believe that human beings can see the future with God's help.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
So the Prophet Muhammad, for instance, the Prophet Muhammad was given a range of different prophecies, a range of different predictions. He made a range of different predictions of the future. And the Quran even makes some. So the Quran talks about the fact that the Romans would defeat the Persian Empire.
Yeah.
Tells us exactly where
and the
that's going to
Persians
be.
will be defeated by the Greeks, and the Greeks will be defeated by the Romans.
These things are mentioned in the
It's
Quran.
their dream, innit? The Nebuchadnezzar's dream or something.
But here's the thing. You know when you have someone who predicts the future, they might make 100 predictions. But of those predictions, you find that which actually contradicts the initial premise. Let me give you an example. The Jehovah's Witness, they made a prediction. They said in 1971 or 1977, it's going to be the end of the world.
Okay.
They said it's going to be the end of the world. Obviously, us speaking here in 2018,
Made it.
it falsifies that prediction.
Yeah.
So which shows us something. It shows us that not only are predictions important, but if the predictions are falsified, that they're disproven. They called this state the Great Depression afterwards, because they realized that actually it couldn't be revelation. That particular thing. How could it be revelation? Now here's the point. We're saying that the Quran, the Hadith, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he told us where Islam will spread to. He said it will spread to Yemen, and it will spread to Syria and Jordan and Palestine, and it will take over the whole Arabian. The Quran says it will take over the whole Arabian Peninsula, and it will go to the east and to the west.
It's all been foretold.
It's all been foretold.
Yeah.
You see, even the Quran says, the Hadith says that you will have Constantinople, and that will be conquered. Constantinople is Istanbul. And at that time, it was the heartland of the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire. So here the point is this: these kinds of predictions, they help us more in terms of, by way of giving us evidence that this man was not just a man who came in history and
he wasn't. He wasn't. He knew what was going on.
Yes.
I agree.
Who had something revealed from God. So these are evidences. So if you believe in this now, we'll go back to what we originally said.
The thing is, like, I believe that all of those things are foretold, and I believe in them. They're also in the Old Testament as well. There are some things that doesn't make me a faith that associated to that. Like
what I've just mentioned is not in the Old Testament.
Which bit?
The fact that there's a prediction about what's going to happen with Roman and the Persians.
That bit that's in the Bible. That's in Nebuchadnezzar's dream.
No.
Is it?
I'm not talking this specific battle, because look, the Quran says غلبت الروم في أدنى الأرض وهم من بعد غلبهم سيغلبون في بضع سنين لله الأمر من قبل ومن بعد يومئذ يفرح المؤمنون. It says that the Romans have been defeated. They have been defeated. غلبت الروم في غلبت الروم. No, the Romans have been defeated, and that they will defeat the Persians after in 3 to 9 years, and it will happen in a nearby lowland. Let me tell you something. Do you know this battle? It took place exactly 8 years after this verse came down.
Really?
The Romans did defeat the Persians, but not only did they defeat the Persians 8 years afterwards, like the Quran said, 3 to 9 years, but they also happened in a place which was geologically.
Where it
happened on the banks of the Dead Sea, which is in present day like Palestine area. Yeah?
Okay.
If you look at the word Edna in Arabic, it means a nearby lowland. And if you look at that place geologically, it is close to Saudi Arabia, geographically, but geologically, it is actually the lowest place in the world. It's the lowest part. Get a map, because you get these maps sometimes, which tell you the altitude of certain areas. You'll find that, for example, the mountainous regions are in red or something, and the low regions are in blue.
Right.
This region is the most blue part of the whole map, and the reason why is because it's the lowest part of the earth. So the Quran says, "Vi adna al-ard," in the nearby lowland. So it's very, very specific information.
Yeah, it is.
It's not just because I can say, look, Man United is going to win the Premiership Cup, That's a very vague kind of prediction.
Right.
But if I tell you who they're going to beat and where they're going to beat them and how they're going to beat them,
exactly. The last game and everything,
If I knew that information, I'd be a millionaire, wouldn't I?
Yeah, you would.
Because I could
at least, mate.
William Hill.
Yeah, exactly. At least a millionaire,
here's the money. The point I'm making to you is this. I'm making to you is that when it comes to predictions, they're a foolproof way to see to what extent someone could be talking to the truth from God. Because no one can, by certainty, know the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth of the future.
Right, yeah.
No one can do that.
I agree.
Right, so you have Nostradamus and these people. But if you look at their corpus of predictions, you had some things which made sense, some other things which are very generic, and other things which were false.
Yeah.
So it's not the same as these kinds of things here. So from that angle, these are evidences that this man was speaking the truth. So what do you think?
Well, I appreciate the amount of knowledge you have to support it, and I agree with it all. Like in terms of, I like the fact that you've got the supporting facts of like
what's holding you back at this
from saying it. It's just because I agree with everything about the gods. Yes. Right, I worship. Like the God, the Almighty God, anything that says that He is the denomination of all, obviously I have to agree with it. Yes. And the fact that I also agree that like God can give us infinite power, and He's led us this way so far through prophets, essentially. What multiple different people are saying these prophets exist, or whatever the word is for them, and I believe in it as well. Or like I in fact feel like I know it's real. You know what I mean? Like I know. Like the thing that I don't know. It's just maybe because I feel like it becomes down to me and God at the end of the day. I'm not putting down the religion. I still look at it and will like study it.
Do you mind if I ask the question what you just said?
No, please no.
I
know he showed me who you are.
Not on it.
We're here to have a conversation, and I know you're here only to
out of any conversation with a Muslim.
Yeah.
I didn't even ask my question. He made some statements. I want him to back up. I want him to back up.
I'm not interested in your response.
You just make those statements.
Yeah, we're not on it.
This is speaker's code, so if you don't want it, then just move on.
So-
He made some claims.
So I'm saying.
He made some claims. I want him to back
I'll tell you what the best thing for me to do is, yeah? It's good.
I
It's
know
good. I'll
they
give you
are
my
trying
number.
to
We can talk.
God bless you, man.
You might have some questions and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, lovely.
And I think that you're a very, very genuine guy, very sincere. And I don't want to put any pressure on you.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But I'll say one thing, right? One thing we believe as Muslims is that when you embrace Islam, that all of the previous sins that you may have committed, they are wiped away. So as if you are born again, to use a Christian.
But I think
That will be the good time for you to tell
I'm
him
willing to pay
what
my
will
dues
happen
as
to
well on
when
those,
he
I'll
you
give you
know.
my number.
God bless you, man.
Give me my
God
number.
bless you.
Sir,
We'll let it go.
it
We'll
will
let
be
it
the
go.
time if you just tell him what will
Outside
happen to
outside
him
over
when
there,
he makes Islam.
we've got like English Qurans, like translations of meanings of Quran. When you leave if you leave the platform that side, you'll get it.
God bless you, man.
Sir, can you just tell him?
Just give him my number.
And you're just telling him when he says